Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Quantified Self and Biohacking Finland's main event. This is the second big event we are having. My name is Teemu Arina, and I'm the author of Biohacker's Handbook, and also a company called Meetings is one of the companies that I'm running as a CEO, and Ikola is another one.
Amazing to see all of you here. My name is Mikko Ikola. I'm the co-founder of the Quantified Self and Biohacking community and also the co-founder of Ambro, and you're actually currently working in this building every day now. It's been quite a big moment to see that the whole community has been rising from, I think it was 30 people in our first meetup in March of this year, and rising rapidly to 200 people during the first big event, and now it's over 900 people, and it's been like constantly updating the number in the website. So it's been awesome.
I think we're close to 1,000 now. And so what we are running is we have these main events, and then we have smaller meetups, which is like 50 to 60 people sharing experiences on tracking and biohacking, and these main events are more about distributing the bigger ideas. And also we have show and tell stands. Our absolutely great sponsors make this event possible, so that we have, for example, food here. Food has been prepared by Rulla, and they will be offering that at one of those breaks that we are having down the road. And go check them out and see if any of those tools might be of interest to you. We also have one of our sponsors is happily handing over a pretty significant discount on some superfoods and so on their online store, and this offer is valid until the 15th of November, so use that opportunity. QS Bio and so on, and mark that down. So I think without further ado, let's get to the main topic of today's event. So what is Quantified Self and Biohacking all about? Let's go through a quick overview before we go to today's program. So Quantified Self can be defined as self-knowledge through numbers. Different ways through which you might be gathering data about your day-to-day activities. Those might be related to your bodily functions or your activities, for example, the steps you take every day, and so on. And it could go from sensors, so that we use technology and maybe EEG, like electric signals, down to actually the actual blood work that we might be doing, and gathering that information to gain better understanding of your day-to-day activities and how those different parameters affect your performance, for example. Everyone can take whatever angle they want, but one thing that I noticed when I started tracking these different parameters was that it sort of created this kind of higher self-understanding, sort of like you were developing a metacognitive skill. On a meta level, you're observing your own activities. Once you have a number, it becomes a significant tool for behavior change. Everyone who has been to sports knows this. So if you know what time you, for example, run 100 meters, the next time you do it, you have certain reference that you can use to improve your performance, or just that little number right there. And I used, for example, the amount of sleep I have every night as one number that I wanted to improve every week to get closer to 7.5 hours. And human beings can do, if you look at anyone who is into sports, can do pretty significant and impressive feats by having those kind of reference points.
One of my findings was that when I did some, for example, 10-kilometer run and measured my sleep after that, I could clearly see that this old wisdom of sports enabling to have your sleep better it's actually working. So I could actually sleep like twice the amount of REM or deep sleep after that. And of course it's personal, and some people might find some other ways to improve it, but you can clearly see the facts through the numbers there.
If you trace the history of quantified self as a term, it's a pretty recent thing in many ways. So the advent of latest generation of mobile phones was obviously one of the starting points. The release of the iPhone, for example, that provides all these accelerometers and different kind of sensors and all the apps that have been built on top of those. So one of the most popular categories, sleep tracking applications, sleep cycle, sleep time, and so on. And you can see from this Google Trends line how this thing is now picking up, and it definitely interests people. And I think quantified self might do to certain things like healthcare the same thing that social media did to media. So it's democratizing, enabling not only professionals, but every one of us. In terms of media, it was about content, so that everyone can publish, and that always creates sort of a little bit of anxiety between these kind of professions. So now, what happens when a patient becomes someone who starts to diagnose their own problems? So every doctor has seen, these guys coming to the office. But I see there great opportunities. Just like with media, down the road, those professionals start to use that resource, to tap into that resource. The untapped potential that was the readers of media in the past are now participants in creating that media. In a similar way, the patients will be participants, part of creating what we call healthcare tomorrow.
And one key aspect of quantified self is find the patterns. So see how these different areas of life affects to each other. And currently we are seeing a lot of new gadgets raising from the industry, different wristbands and different measurement tools. But what I think is that in the future they will merge into one product, and that could be a Google Glass type of product, which actually is in physical contact to your body and can take the measurements on its own without any action manually needed.
I'm a big fan of these kind of automated data capture. So how can you gather information without really consciously actually doing it? So then it's no longer about using your time to gather information, but it becomes more about using your time to do the analysis and understand what might be behind those numbers from the objective perspective, but also from a subjective perspective. What can you learn by looking at those numbers? Now, biohacking is the act of then running those kind of self-experiments. So you look at some parameters that are coming in, and you use that information to create a hypothesis of, what if I change this? What if I change this part in my diet? Or what if I exercise, for example, instead of going for long runs, maybe I do short interval trainings? What can I see? In what direction is the needle going? And that's where biohacking kicks in. And I really like what Dave Asprey, who is like sort of the pope of biohacking all over the world, this is his picture, how he sees the relationship between quantified self and biohacking.
So basically, this is one way of putting it, and you can think the biohacking part as getting the self-experiments, the personal experiments from different life changes. And then with the quantified self, you can actually measure the results over time, over a longer period of time, and then get the quantitative data there. Pick up the positive changes, map yourself, and then do it all over again and try a new experiment. So this is particularly the reason why we wanted to bring the biohacking part into this community as well, which is not that common in other parts of the world.
Because of that, we see also women in the audience. We also see doctors. We see people who are not just from the hard sciences of technology and engineering and analytics and mathematics, but also more on the softer side of sciences, psychology and health sciences, life sciences, entering this arena. I think from that sort of synergy, great things can come out, like new companies, new kinds of looking at things, new ideas, often in science, actually come from something that we can call serendipity, like these accidental, fruitful interactions, conversations, situations where you get yourself into, and these events are such kind of events. And one thing that I like about this approach is also the way how feedback loops become shorter. So you start, it's no longer about, for example, going to a doctor's office and you get the measurement of your blood, for example, once in a decade, but rather you can do it every quarter, or instead of doing sports in such a way that you have this some kind of special event where you take your weight and you do different kind of tests, sport tests and so on, fitness tests, that you can actually do it constantly, even 24 hours. And the shorter the feedback loops, the faster you will be able to iterate and also learn from some of those aspects.
We're happy to have a lot of quantified self and biohacking related companies in Finland. Some might even predict that it's most per capita in the world. And it's been great to bring the people together from companies that didn't used to talk to each other. And we're happy to have many of these companies present in this slide also in this event during the breaks, where they demo their products, demo their services.
Yes, and we also have media present here. So who's actually here? Who can actually raise hand that you are part of the media?
Where is Turkka? Turkka is over there. If you want to get to Yle, Finnish national television, just go to talk to Turkka. He's doing a biohacking programming, Yle Prisma program, gonna air in 2 or 3 weeks. So it's awesome to have this in the public discussion as well.
Yeah, check it out. And Yle has been covering this stuff almost every week now, the whole autumn, and all kinds of different kind of programs, from news to talk shows and so on. It's pretty interesting. It's picking up, and it's definitely interesting where we are going with this. And we also have present here our friends from Estonia. Where are you guys? So here on the front row, they have founded, inspired by what we are doing here, Quantified Self and Biohacking Estonia. So that's up and running. Fantastic. And I believe we are going to do something together definitely down the road. Maybe we can have some meetups on the, let's say, on the border, Lautalla, and so on. But it's going to be definitely interesting how this thing spreads. And why I think Estonia is interesting is if you look at the news about Finnish healthcare system, and then you look at Estonia and the Estonian healthcare system, how they built the systems over there. We have seen those news, and we have seen that these guys are quite advanced. Even their president knows how to do assembler programming. So, and the schools are starting this kind of engineering courses. So maybe Estonia is going to be the, melting pot of new kind of software companies around quantified self as well. But so is Finland. We have seen that per capita there are more companies related to this field than anywhere in the world. And that's a great opportunity for all of us. People who have left Nokia, who used to be into electric engineering, those guys, when they connect with software developers and Finnish design, creating new products never seen before, things and ideas that were impossible to create within Nokia, big structure, what you can actually try and experiment with high-risk projects in startups. We are going to see definitely a lot of interesting things down the road. And we are happy to have some of those companies over here today. And Quantified Self is a big phenomenon all over the world. We also have, as our closing keynote, Martin den Braber, who is on the back, and he's the founder of Quantified Self Europe as well as Quantified Self Amsterdam. He's probably going to tell us a couple of words how that's also going on there. It was a great event, the European conference. I can recommend that for many of you. And during spring, we are probably going to have a Finnish delegation once again there. And I can tell you that last time we had a penthouse, and everyone who was into Quantified Self was actually at our penthouse close to the conference, like a 3-story apartment, and it was a pretty amazing conference. But you have been into San Francisco as well.
Yeah, I was just in San Francisco like 3 to 4 weeks ago, where the San Francisco Global Conference was organized. So just wanted to show a few pictures how this movement is going in the global scale and how people gather together. So basically there was 400 people, and actually during the end of the conference, Gary Wolf, who's the kind of like inventor of the Quantified Self movement, asked a question like how many of the participants actually organized some program in the conference, and 25% of the hands rose up. So it's kind of like I think they say it's highly curated unconference, and it's very interesting because all the other programs, in addition to lectures, is something that you're actually going to participate yourself. So, few words from the Quantified Self organizing meetup. One day before the conference, we gathered together to share the experience how to organize events, and there was quite a long discussion about Quantified Self as a term. So it's interesting that we need to kind of like constantly look what's happening in the industry to bring the events, to kind of like have the events being in the field what happens in the world. And interesting was that even though I found it a little bit too academic to talk what Quantified Self as a term means, in Boston they had this sort of an issue that is Quantified Patient event something that is under the Quantified Self umbrella, because if you are measuring somebody else, it's not you anymore who's looking at your numbers, and this kind of discussion going in there, which and also I presented how we integrated the biohacking part in our community here in Finland, and afterwards, during the next days, people came to talk to me and ask more about it. So there is some synergies there.
Yeah, definitely.
I think like one of my favorite topics in the conference, just to pick like one of the tens of lectures, was this one, where 3 co-founders of different Quantified Self-related companies spoke about their war stories of being an entrepreneur in this field. And one of the speakers was Ben Rubin from a company called Zio, which does the sleep measurement device, or actually which used to do it because the company is now bankrupt. And it's an interesting story how they actually acquired 20 million euros of funding, and everything was going fine, but in the end, well, due to many reasons, but bringing this kind of quite invasive technology which you have to wear on your head every night to measure the sleep wasn't ready for the mass market to adapt. But luckily though, Ben is now advisor for Finnish sleep measurement company Pedit, which is also present in this conference, so the knowledge is moving on there. Also, there was, well, if you want to hear more about the global conference, you should talk maybe to Nelly, who's here. Had some awesome time with Dave Asprey from the Bulletproof Executive. And then there was Gustav from the Mind app, having office hour of the Mind app, which is also present here. And actually Dave liked the device a lot and wanted to be the beta tester, so you might want to check it out. And there was also Teemu Kurppa from Pivot app, and there was Lasse and Timo from Bedit, and who else? There was Markus from Reco app from Jyväskylä, so around 7 or 8 Finns present.
You want some bulletproof coffee maybe?
All right, thanks.
So that's Quantified Self all around the world. We're going to get soon to the program actually, but I have one thing that I want to ask you as an audience. And we have been looking at the logo, and we cannot decide if it's going to be green or blue. Maybe we do a little bit of hands up kind of experiment here. So how many of you think that the red one, and by the way the projector is not doing justice to the logo as we speak, but how many of you think it should be red? Raise your hand now. And how many of you think it should be blue? All right.
All right, that's a pretty clear signal.
So I did the right kind of choice when I printed that one. So thank you very much.